Yo, what's up YouTube? JP here, just checking in with my first instructional video that I'm putting together to put on my YouTube channel. Today's topic, how to cut weight. So I've always having people asking me what I do to cut weight in the lead up to my powerlifting competitions. And after last weekend where I put together the biggest cut of my life, I thought what better time to do so than right now. Just a little background before we get started. So last weekend I competed in the 66 kilo class. 48 hours before weigh-in, I woke up in the morning after having visited the bathroom at 69.85. I managed to cut 4 kilos in 48 hours to make weight exactly at 66.00. Today I'm going to share with you what I do and the techniques that I employ in order to cut weight so quickly and so safely. Let's get started. Step 1 is to gather data. You want to be weighing yourself every morning and every evening for at least 4 weeks prior to the commencement of your weight cut. You need to be doing so on a reliable set of scales. I'm going to put in a link in the description below as to the set of scales that I use. They're A and D scales. They're very, very good. This data is also going to show you how much weight you lose on average overnight, which is valuable information which we're going to use in step 2. Alrighty, step 2 is to create a body weight timeline. A body weight timeline is going to outline what you want your body weight to be at various time points prior to weigh-in. I recommend 5 points. Weigh-in, morning of weigh-in, the night before weigh-in, the morning before weigh-in, and the night before that. Here behind me I've got an example of what my body weight timeline looks like. So, for example, last week I weighed in at 11:30 a.m. Weighed in at 11:30 a.m. and my goal weight was 66. I said to myself, I'm happy to weigh in the morning at 7 a.m. at 68.0. And I can sauna that 2 kilos off, which we're going to speak about later on. Generally for me, I lose about half a kilo overnight the night before. Usually I lose about a kilo and you lose about half of that. Usually I lose a kilo overnight and usually that gets halved because you're already dehydrated. We're going to speak about that later. So here, the night before weigh-in, I'm happy to weigh in at 68.5. Because if I weigh in at 68.5, I know that I'm going to weigh 68 the next day. And I know that I'm going to sauna and make that. If I'm going to weigh 68.5 the night before, I want to weigh 68.9 in the morning of. And then the night before that, I'm happy to weigh 69.8. What this says to me is that if I weigh 69.8 2 nights before, then I know I've made it. Because I know the next day I'm going to weigh this, and I know that at the evening I'm going to weigh this, and I know that I'm going to get to 68.0 at least, and I know that I can lose 2 kilos in the sauna prior to weigh-in. A body weight timeline is probably the most important step in this whole series. We're going to speak about some of the common errors that people make later on. How you go about making this body weight plan is quite difficult and takes a little bit of practice. But if you get good at this, then your weigh-ins will become a lot more accurate and a lot more reliable. On to step 3. Okay, step 3 is to water load. Water loading is a very simple step. You drink a lot of water in the days prior to your weigh-in, only for you to suddenly cut that supply. A lot of people make the mistake of slowly taking away their water supply. This is incorrect. You should drink copious amounts of water for as long as you can. I usually start about a week out, but I've just only gone up to 4 days. I think 4 days is fine, however I'm just a little bit anxious about it, so I start a bit earlier. I'm drinking up to 10 litres of water a day. 4 days out, 3 days out, 2 days out. And the day before, I continue drinking high amounts of water. I drink 6 litres, and then I suddenly cut that 15 hours before weigh-in. What this does is it means that once you are dehydrated, you continue to urinate. Drinking lots of water upregulates a hormone called renin. Renin stays in your bloodstream and it isn't metabolized for a long period of time. So even the next day, the morning of weigh-in, when I'm dehydrated and I haven't had water for close to 15 hours, and I'm in the sauna, I still have an urge to go to the bathroom. This means you can keep losing water weight even in a dehydrated state. If you do not do this, your body will do everything it can to hold on to water, and it makes it much more difficult to lose that last 500 grams to a kilo. On to step 4. Step 4 is very similar to step 3, and it is sodium loading. Sodium loading works in a very similar way to water loading. What we're going to do is up-regulate our sodium intake. So roughly 4 days out, you're going to be having about 5,000 milligrams of sodium. You're going to be adding salt to everything. Same goes for 3 days out, and you can start this a little bit earlier. I recommend starting this with your water load. 2 days out, you need to cut your sodium. 2 days out, you're still drinking lots of water, and that water is going to clear the sodium from your system. That's why you need to cut it 2 days out, so that you have an opportunity to clear that sodium. It's a very simple step, but it works in a very similar way to the water load. On to step 5. Step 5 is a glycogen or carbohydrate depletion. In order for carbohydrates to be stored in your body as glycogen, they need to hold on to water. What we want to do is clear the body of its glycogen stores. So what we do is roughly 4 days out, we continue eating like normal. 3 days out, we're going to drastically remove carbohydrates from the diet. Something like 20 to 40 grams is pretty aggressive, but 3 days out is when you want to start looking at taking away carbohydrates from your diet. 2 days out is going to be probably very, very aggressive, like that's set in stone, 20 to 40 grams, keeping carbohydrates out of your diet. And the day before should be next to nothing, no carbohydrates at all in your diet. This is a very, very powerful tool. However, it probably has the highest risk in that it's going to decrease performance the most. On to step 6. Step 6 is probably the hardest. It's starvation. Food in your gut is dead mass that you want to remove. Food stays in your gut for a very long time, upwards of 24 hours. So we want to start reducing the volume of food that you're ingesting prior to your weigh-in to ensure you don't have any mass in your gut that is adding to your weight. So I recommend usually 4 days out, you can kind of eat like normal. 3 days out, you're starting to deplete carbs anyway, so this is actually quite an easy step coupled with the previous step. You're going to be having low volume foods that are high in calories, same as the next day. So you want to be having high fat food. Foods high in fat have low mass relative to the amount of energy that they store. So things like nuts, adding mayonnaise to food is something that I do, and butter. These are the kinds of foods that you want to be ingesting. Low in carbohydrates, high in fat. The day before, I recommend having your last meal roughly 21 hours prior to your weigh-in. That's kind of good time, and the meal should be relatively small, something like 100 grams of chicken, 50 grams of walnut, maybe half a glass of milk. Or probably not even milk because that's got carbohydrates in it. So something very, very small. Coupled with this step is you're going to need to take a laxative. I recommend taking the laxative not long after your last meal. Ensure that the laxative that you take is legal in your federation, so triple check what content is in your laxative. This is going to help, again, clear dead mass from your gut. On to step 7. Okay, step 7, the sauna. You're getting close towards weigh-in, you've cut water, you've cut your food intake, you've used your laxative. Now it's really time to shed off that last little bit of weight using a steam room specifically. Some people recommend using a steam room or a sauna the night before. I personally don't recommend this. The way I see it is the longer you are dehydrated, the more your performance will be impacted. So I prefer to do it last minute. And you shouldn't have that stress you out, because if you've got your body weight timeline, then everything should fall into place anyway. So you wake up in the morning, you weigh yourself in, you figure out how much weight you want to lose, and then you hit the sauna. Behind me, I have a recommendation of how much weight you can expect to lose in the sauna. Smaller people will obviously lose less weight, larger people will lose more weight. However, this will also depend on your hydration levels. So, your goal in the sauna isn't to make weight, but it's to come very close. I recommend exiting the sauna at roughly 400 grams over your competition weight. Granted, that's an hour and a half to 2 hours before your weigh-in. You'll lose that extra few hundred grams quite easily in your travels to the venue. Your body will stay warm, you'll continue to lose weight, lose sweat, and if you've water loaded correctly, you might be able to visit the bathroom just before weigh-in as well and weigh in bang on your body weight. On to step 8. Okay, step 8 is probably one of the most underrated steps in your mission to make weight, and that is rehydration and refeeding. You've done all this work and effort in the last few days to get your body weight what it needs to be for your weigh-in. Now you have limited time to recover from that weight cut. What I recommend doing is ensuring that your body weight is what it was prior to your weigh-in by the time you step out onto the platform. For example, if you started your weight cut weighing 69 kilos, made weight at 66, and then you step out onto the platform only weighing 67.5, you are 1.5 kilos lighter than you were when you started, hence you are probably dehydrated and underfed. You need to have a nutrition and rehydration strategy. I recommend seeing a nutritionist for that. What I do is I usually ingest roughly 1.5 litres of water / sports drink immediately after weigh-in. I step off the scales and I'm already eating and drinking. I have 2 bananas and a muesli bar before I've even stepped out of the weigh-in room. The referees are signing the documents. I'm sitting there eating and drinking. I haven't even put my clothes back on. That's how quickly and aggressively you need to start your weight cut. The competition starts now. Don't dawdle, particularly if you have a limited weigh-in time. So for example, in the International Powerlifting Federation, we get 2-hour weigh-ins. That's a very short amount of time to make back 3.5 or 4 kilos. So you need to be very aggressive and thorough and deliberate with the way that you return to your original body weight. As an example, before I stepped onto the platform, I weighed 69.0 kilos. When after the bench press section, I was weighing in at 69.5 kilos. That night before going to bed, after a real big celebratory feast, I weighed in at 71.85. So almost 6 kilos heavier than I weighed in 15 hours prior. The importance of eating food after your weigh-in cannot be stressed enough. Okay, one of the things I really want to touch on is people quite often ask me, doesn't this water cut affect your performance? And the answer is sometimes. The harder your weight cut is and the more aggressively you weight cut, the more likely it is to affect your performance. Here I've got a graph that shows weight cut versus performance. With small cuts in weight, your performance is unaffected. You can perform at 100%. The bigger your weight cut, the less you're going to perform. It is as simple as that. What the objective here is to do is to cut this amount of weight. Now, what that amount of weight is for you will vary, and it takes practice and time to learn what your body is capable of and what it will react to. One of the biggest tips that I can give you is not to freak out in the lead up to your weigh-in. What I often see is people get very anxious about their body weight and they cut 3 kilos prior to their weigh-in and they make weight unofficially at home 12 or 18 hours before weigh-in. What this means is now that the athlete has to stay dehydrated for a prolonged period of time. The longer you are dehydrated, the more your performance will suffer. I recommend writing up a body weight plan and sticking to it. If you are ahead of pace, then feel free to eat. Because you don't need to make weight at home, you need to make weight on the scale. So have a plan, have a way that you're going to execute that plan, and trust the process that you will make weight. Because you do not want your performance to suffer. Okay, and my last tip, guys, is to not cut too much weight in your very first attempt at this. As I've explained, there is a decrease in performance with the bigger that your weight cut is. I recommend starting off small, starting off with small cuts prior, and testing the waters to see how your body reacts, because everybody reacts differently. I'm lucky enough to be able to cut quite aggressively and have that not hinder my performance. However, some people have suffered immensely from weight cuts. If you follow the outline that I've given you, everything should be okay, as long as you are in consultation with a nutritionist. I mean, don't take my advice as gospel. But yes, have small cuts initially and work your way into bigger cuts to find out where the upper limit is for you and what's going to benefit your performance the best. Okay guys, thanks for watching. I hope this video is going to help you with your weight cuts in the future, or you found this informative. If you did, please hit the like button, subscribe to my YouTube channel. I've got plenty of more instructional videos that I'm going to be releasing over the next few weeks. And make sure you share this with your friends. You might have a friend that tends to make mistakes in their weight cut and it impairs their performance. I'd love to be able to help people out. So share this with your friends. Make sure you like and subscribe. And until next time, thank you very much.
Joey, come back! How the fuck did you get a bicycle? Holy crap. I'm running like a bicycle person. Oh my god.
My very fuck. Speak naturally. Involves drinking. Try again. The data that. And of course, your body weight. Oh, fuck, that was too long of a hesitation.